It's time to mind your business with me, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in to find out how to mind your business with BEDC, special guest entrepreneurs, industry experts, and more. Brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda business starts here. Welcome to Mind Your Business.
Welcome. Welcome to me. Welcome to you. Yeah, it's good to be back.
So, Dr. Gina Tucker,
Yes.
you are the founder of EduCoach.
Indeed.
Okay. And, of course, Jamillah Lodge.
Yes.
I'll be your host today.
Awesome.
It's nice to have you back on the show because we had a conversation in our last podcast space when you first started.
Absolutely.
So let's reintroduce yourself to the people and talk about EduCoach, and then you give us an update.
Yeah, it's been about 4 years, 2021, right out of COVID. And so, being home at COVID, many things were birthed on many levels.
Like, what could I do?
Exactly. And I mean, I tried several things, but I think in the end, I settled on the fact that I'm an educator at heart, and I do really, really and truly appreciate the work of educators. And then at the time, I was also in fintech. So really trying to combine the two and looking at what can we do? What is something that I can birth and bring to the education community at that time that would be of help, that would fill a gap, right? And so really and truly my entire journey from being and many don't know that I actually started in sociology with criminology. And so having that type of background, even when they interviewed me for teacher, when they came and interviewed me for teacher, they were like, you're different because you see people differently. I see them as social beings versus people, just people. They're people who are within society and operating within a larger community. And so bringing that to me, with me, through teaching and principal and everything else, and I've been the gamut, I guess, if you will, of the spectrum. And really, in the end, I would say a leader. Leadership would be my final, my 14.
Where you ended,
Where
the journey ends.
Yeah.
So from the leadership perspective, what do you bring with EduCoach? Like, what is your goal having started this business, and what have you seen in the 4 years that you've been operating in? Yes.
So the goal would be that in fact, it's part of my experience as a principal and as a teacher. It's not hard to see that teachers are the most critical people, I believe, in the journey of a young child in terms of schooling. And so for teachers, getting the support and help that they need is very difficult. It's a lonely profession. It's very lonely. It's very, very lonely. You are in that classroom alone, and you are responsible for these little beings.
Yeah.
And in and of itself, that's leadership. And so I like to think that my leadership qualities started long before being in an official, if you will, like principal or leader. Teachers are leaders. We call them teacher leaders.
Yeah, they are. They're leading all these people.
And they have worlds. The classroom is an organization in and of itself. You have to establish rules, community, how we work together, how we function. All sorts of things are going on in that room. It's a lot. And so recognizing that teachers need support. For me, I was that coach. I coached teachers as colleagues when I was a teacher, and then as a principal, I spent 90% of my time coaching those teachers because I knew that was our superpower.
Right.
I knew the power was in the classroom. In order to turn that school around, we had to really ensure that the teachers were able to deliver every minute of every day top-notch instruction, right? And so EduCoach came from that space of needing, the goal was to have teachers everywhere around the world have access to quality coaches to be able to professionalize themselves. And so that was kind of the origin of it at that time. And since which, 4 years later, we've pivoted and expanded.
As we do, right? As is required.
Absolutely. And so we've really expanded and opened it up to even more.
So who's the more?
So when you think we think now of everyone needing opportunities to grow, right? And so you're thinking of the parents, you're thinking of the corporate, you're thinking of C-suite. You're thinking of managers in places using leadership, our leadership edge space where leadership, oh gosh, it's so much kind of pressing on my spirit these days, but leadership matters.
It does.
Jamillah, it really does. And I think that's not appreciated. There's a love-hate relationship with leadership. And people get it.
Well, because I think people sometimes define leadership or how they action leadership is not always the greatest. And sometimes that leaves like a bad impression on others. And so then you have this kind of negative association with leadership. So
Absolutely. So it's really key, right? To ensure that the leadership is skilled, if you will, or has the leadership qualities that enable the organization, that is the people within it, right? Because the organizations consist of mostly people. And so how do we ensure that those people are able to do their jobs effectively in an environment that's conducive to that? Leaders are key. And so my girlfriend and I, we like to say, every goat has a coach. Every goat. Tyler Woods, Serena, every goat has a coach. And who's coaching you? And so if you are aspiring to be a goat, the greatest of all time, which we should be aspiring to be, then you should have a coach. You should have someone who's in your corner, but who's also a critical friend that says, hey, maybe not like that.
Don't do it like that.
Try and work it like this.
Right.
Let's see how this looks. Let's see. And it really has the experience, the skill set, the wherewithal to guide and direct you. I encourage everyone to have a coach. I mean, I just reflect in my first days of teaching. We didn't call them that at the time, but Oprah Wilson and Sandra Smith, they were my coaches. They were like, Tucker, like this. Tucker. And there were times where I was like, I'm going to try this my way, because that's important too.
Right.
And it's important for coaches to say, okay, go ahead and try that. I've had teachers say, no, I want to do it like this. And the next day come back in, they switch it just like I coached them.
Right. They're like, that's why you said
that. Exactly.
Not to do it that way.
The leadership space is very, very critical. And I see that it's needed more than ever these days. More than ever. We have people in leadership roles who need support.
Probably
absolutely. just get on and get you a coach.
Yeah. I mean, coaches are extremely important, and I don't think that people understand how important they
I
can
don't think
be.
they do.
Right?
Yep.
And so you started EduCoach from the perspective of supporting teachers and helping them be better at their jobs, because they're educating the future leaders and future doctors and future teachers, etc. But you recognize over your 4 years that, well, they are getting the goods, but there's so many others that didn't get the goods because EduCoach may not have existed when they were in school.
Absolutely.
So how can I now share this knowledge with others?
And everyone, it's a very interesting thing that happens, because I think I was intuitively guided as a principal. Going into the building, knowing that it needed to turn it around, I had to really use leadership, figure out how to first survive the first year, which was really, really a journey. That was pure survival.
Yeah.
But the year after that had to be strategy. And the biggest piece of the strategy was ensuring that those teachers had the support they needed in order to deliver in a way that was conducive for the students. There was a lot packaged in that little statement. But, our systems, the systems here and around the world, we spend 90% of our money on training. Even I'm speaking to the HR professionals right now, the persons in HR and all of these organizations. We train, we give workshops. That's 90% we're spending on. And then we're trying to determine how come the person is not applying it. How come nothing's changed? How come they're still the same? Because it does not have the impact. Training is important, and it is necessary for you to go into a room and hear about something. But that's not going to change you.
Right.
It's really not. You need someone that when you come back, to your
To say,
workspace
so,
to say, hey,
did
that's
you
it.
do that thing
That's
that
right.
you just
absolutely
learned?
and that's where I like to say we can give you the training. EduCoach can do that as well. We can provide the training, but what separates us from the typical training space is that we get in deep.
Okay.
We go in more personal with the individual. We really help that individual now make sense of what they learned in that session, and how they translate what they learned into what we hope they learned into the action, right? And so that was the difference.
Okay.
I trained my teachers and then I coached them. So every Monday morning we trained, and throughout the week I was coaching them on the training. And I mean, it was like that.
Okay.
And I do believe that any organization with that kind of experience, and with having their persons engage in that kind of experience of learning and growth, we'll see.
You see the results.
Outcome.
Yeah.
You see the results.
Yeah.
Exponentially, which is what we experienced.
And now let me ask you how
yes.
you do this, because now you said it's not just teachers anymore.
Absolutely.
But there's corporates, there's HR professionals, there's individuals maybe.
Yeah.
How are you able to provide these services to them? Like, what platform are you using get
That's right.
get
So
it
we're
out?
using the EduCoach platform,
Okay.
educoach.info. You can go on there and you can book. So with me comes an awesome tribe, my soldiers, who I like to say reflect my spirit
Okay.
and my energy. So because I could not possibly coach
all the things.
teacher
Like,
in the
how are
world.
you coaching everybody all the
time?
teachers? Yes.
So I couldn't do that. It was important, and the idea was actually bringing together this global network of coaches who reflect a certain level and standard of coaching and are able to deliver in that way. So that's how we are able to actually provide that coaching to them on the platform itself. You book the sessions, or when you contact me directly, then I can say, okay, listen, here is probably the best coach for you, and let's see if that can work. And I can do some coaching myself, and so it's very easy, it's very user friendly, it's very practical, if you will, because it's on your time. It's when you want to have it, you can have it. So it's I call it like it's fast food.
It's on demand,
It's
right?
on demand. It's on demand. That's right. When you need it, it's right there for you.
So let me ask you, because your energy is contagious. You have all this experience. You're a doctor, Gina Tucker. So how do you identify these awesome people that you mentioned are your tribe, and that they can display or share your same sort of kind of approach? How do you identify these?
So some people I know. There's some people I know that I say, listen, you would be ideal. Like I might say to you. I say there are people out there who could absolutely benefit across the world.
Right.
And that's what's really cool. I think in Bermuda, and we've seen that happen, that there are people like you who you're in Bermuda. But your expertise is definitely
international. Doesn't matter, right?
Absolutely. And so I might say, okay, listen, let's look at how we can get you on the platform. And then there are persons who literally are just out there searching who find us.
Interesting.
And that's right. It's unbelievable. Who are like, oh, I see this, and they'll just write in and they'll say, I'm very interested. And so I say, go ahead and go through the application process. And so they'll absolutely submit all of the application documents and to verify who they are, for me to make sure that they are,
legitimate,
legit, good people, right? And so we ask questions, we interview them in a sense, and we then get them on board. And so it is important for us to screen and not just have anybody. Although if anybody somehow lands on there and we find out, then we remove them, right? You follow through, but that hasn't happened. And so it's been really interesting getting the coaches on board, and we're always looking to get more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from the standpoint of who your primary
client base
Yes.
is and where they're located. Would you say the majority are in Bermuda because it's a Bermuda company, or do you have clients all over the world?
Well, the idea is to have them all over the world.
Right.
Bermuda is special, of course, and I would love to see EduCoach throughout Bermuda. And so the clientele in actuality is anyone or any entity that is looking for growth opportunities, real growth. I like to call it real growth because I note, I've actually sat in so many workshops that organizations, let's say even the corporate world, are sending their people to. You know, they're full. They're going in, they're full, and then they're wondering why nothing has really changed in the organization. And it won't. I keep saying it won't. It just won't. It's like sending our young people to a football camp. But if no one takes them after that camp and says, hey, listen, remember when they showed you how to do this and do that? Let's practice that. Let's practice how they showed you that. People need individual opportunity to apply their learning. Everyone can learn, and everyone wants to grow. That's my belief. Everyone. And that's what's my mantra in the school. Is that you are professionals. I'm going to treat you as such.
Right.
And it's no way you can be talking about students learning when you're not.
Right.
And so as a teacher, you must also be learning as a professional person in a field. So you cannot be a teacher, call yourself a professional, and not be learning about the profession.
Right.
And so for me, my focus was the teachers, although I love the students, right? But I know that we have short time with the students,
Right.
and time is pressing on and passing on, and there's no dress rehearsal anywhere, right? So the students don't come back to P2 and learn the P2 stuff that they missed. They just don't. When they're in P5. So you know, it's important that we make sure that they get that type of support, and you just see it. It's beautiful to see because that person goes, oh wow, and they actually claim growth as a primary, as a purpose for themselves.
And I'm sure it's fulfilling because you can see where you were and then see the progress you've made having gone through that coaching.
And guess what's even better than that?
What?
You see the impact on the outcome. So you see where you were, you see what you're doing now, and you recognize the difference in the outcome.
Right.
Meaning in the case of education.
You see your students, you're like, oh.
You see, I want to say even parents, right? Parents are key play. Everybody says, oh, the parents, these parents, or this person. I say, but they didn't drop from the sky. That's what I say.
Right.
They're here. They need support like everyone else. And so really that's why we expanded out into their world as well. Parents who are trying to navigate an education system, it's exhausting in the midst of having a career, having a husband, running a household, and doing life. Right? And then at the same time, you're trying to figure out what are these people talking about in the school. And so we try to support them as well. Those parents who are working parents but want to be involved in their young people's lives and don't know how to, don't know where to kind of insert. Some of them are too involved, right?
I know what they call them, helicopter parents.
They're all up in it. I used to try and tell my parents, listen, I need you to be good, but don't get in the way. You cannot get in the way. You have to let us do what we do.
Right.
And so really we enjoy that space as well.
Okay.
Helping the parents who are key.
So I want to ask you about, I'm interested, I've applied. How are you training your coaches? Do you have like designated educational software or that they have to go through before you release them
yes, absolutely.
to the world?
Absolutely. So part of it is that you would come with a level of coaching experience.
Okay.
So you have probably been coaching in your school district or in your area, your field that you're in. And on top of that, so we will want you to have some experience already.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we will put you through, some digital spaces where you would go through the coaching process, if you will. And then you kind of come out. But most people that are, they are awesome. These people have been, oh my gosh, some of the applicants that I see, they have been doing phenomenal things already.
Okay.
This simply enables those persons who have been doing that work in their individual communities to now do it globally. Yes, that's basically what it does. It creates the network that allows you to spread your wings across the world. And so that's what's exciting about it.
Yes. So for you, in terms of what EduCoach has grown into, because we started with the teachers, now we're doing everybody.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Because growth
that's
cuts
is
across.
part of it, right?
And that's really the core of it, right?
Yeah,
it's the growth. So we're coaching you in your growth space.
So what do you envision EduCoach being like, if it's exactly what you want it to be? How do you envision this business?
Oh my gosh, listen. Well, I have people who have been seeing our rebrand, reset, reposition, whatever you call it. It's been an exciting journey, just that in and of itself. And someone says, you know what? I really hope that it becomes like the Airbnb space, where when Airbnb first came out, Airbnb. First came out, everybody was like, "What is that?" Right? And now everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, you have to know about that."
Yeah.
You're crazy if you don't know about it. So my hope is that globally, and I mean, I really do mean globally, but I wish locally as well.
Yeah.
That all of our entities really look and see this opportunity to access expertise that's globally connected, and that enables their organizations and themselves. So 2 layers there. So the organization can see and benefit from hiring 50 people at the cost of 1 person or less. Imagine that, right? So the cost effectiveness of it, right? And then also the individual who can also benefit from it. And so it's important. I look, and sometimes I sigh, because I'm like, if only.
Right.
If only you recognize that you could have, and I mean, I don't want to boast about me or anything, but you could have 50 me's in your building today.
Right.
Today, delivering with your 25 staff individually at a fraction of the cost of hiring a person.
To come in and do like a workshop.
Absolutely. And that's the phenomenal part of it. The ability to access this quality, this level of quality, that ensures, and I like to say ensures, although I recognize it's a reciprocal space, but it actually ensures desired outcome that impacts the work, right? If you look at it that way.
So when you talk about outcomes, how do you, as a business owner, ensure that it's effective and that you're hitting the targets? Like, what are you using to determine if the coaches are performing the way they need to, that the clients are receiving the benefits from having signed up and are using the platform? How do you keep track of that?
There's 2 levels of that. If a principal or school district coach right now and you coach me and we work together, we can develop what that measurement tool would look like.
Okay.
It's important for the coachees, the teachers or the managers or whoever it is, recognizes and fully appreciates that this is a confidential process, that this is private. However, if your company is paying for it, there's a little bit of accountability to that company.
Right.
And so we work with the company or the business or the school district or whoever it is to make sure that we get the feedback on our end. We're able to provide exactly how the growth occurred, what was the impact of this coaching. And so that's an important part of the process. For the coachee, if you came on and you booked, you get to fill out an evaluation form on what you were looking for and how that was met. So that's a very private, you booked it, you came on, we just get that information to determine and ensure that you got what you were looking for. And I also meet with the coaches to say, hey, listen, let's regroup. How are you doing with who your coach is? How is it going? And they might say, well, she never shows up, right? And so, that's becomes a problem.
Right.
And so there's 2 things going there. It's a dynamic process, a very, very beneficial one, but dynamic.
Okay.
When the company is paying, there's a level of accountability to that company, but I try to have the company or school district business appreciate that we don't want it to be that the coachee, the person feels like it's not private.
Right.
So there's a balance there.
Right.
But we want to ensure that they're having the impact.
Yeah, definitely. And I would imagine, like, from a teaching perspective, like you said, you can see it in the students.
Absolutely.
Right?
You see
So
it in the
you
data.
have physical proof that whatever you're doing
That's
is
right.
working.
Absolutely.
But for a larger organization who may have hundreds of employees, it may not be as visible,
Absolutely.
right? And so just understanding how you could provide them with data or information to say, yeah, this is working,
Yes.
this is effective. Hopefully they see the results,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And better,
That's the idea. That's the
doing
idea.
better at whatever it is that they're doing. But just was wondering how you capture that information.
And it's important. And
It
it's important
is.
to do that. And I don't operate. I operate in leadership with the measurement tools.
Yeah.
I mean, before I start a job, I want to know how I'm measuring whatever job I'm doing. Right. And so I think that it's important, and it's important for whoever is in the corporate, the HR managers, I mean, everybody, school districts, to be able to say, listen, this is what we're not seeing. This is what we want to see, and this is the hope, the impact that we hope it has. And then from there, that's easy for me.
For you.
For me, that's
So you mentioned that you were the principal,
Yes,
and I
yes.
gather that the school that you were the principal of was probably challenged, and so you took it on and said,
Yes.
"We're gonna fix it," right? So how do you use that same kind of tenacious kind of characteristics to approach all of the things that you do? Because some people, they see a problem and they just get stuck.
Yeah, no, I'm the absolute opposite, and I think it's been interesting. I had a professor who said, choose your schools carefully.
Right.
And so I turned down 2 schools actually, right, because I didn't believe that those schools would enable me to do the kind of work I aspired to do. Which was very challenging work.
Right.
I wanted the worst.
Right.
I wanted the best. Tell me your absolute worst school. That's the one for me.
Right.
So when he said choose your schools carefully, I took that seriously, because a person like me going into a school that is perceived to be great and wonderful is probably not going to do well. Because I'll find the problems.
Right.
Right. And
then people be mad, be like, don't you be talking about our school like that.
That's just it. So I needed one that they already knew had problems.
Right.
And so going into that space was really, really exciting for me, because I wanted that school, because I wanted to max out this thing I believe, all the things I believed, and all the things I understood and appreciated about leadership, and especially in this case, leadership in a school. But I apply it everywhere, and I believe that leadership goes everywhere. The first year, I survived. I really did. They tried to oust me and everything. I mean, I went through it all. But I had a friend, Mr. Stanfield Smith, who said, watch out, because when Dr. Tucker makes it through this first year, when she gets into gear. So in the first year, I always say it was 0.
Right.
I was literally surviving, although I was planning for the second year.
Right.
And so beginning the second year, that's when I began to use those skill set, those things, the curriculum, the instruction, the leadership, the organizational strategies, all of those things that I knew, and I had to do them quickly. So I believe in leadership that is very time sensitive. I didn't want to be in that school forever.
Right.
I needed to get this job done and get out, right? That was your plan. That was the plan. And I believe that strongly about leaders. Like, be clear about what you want to do. Get the coaching you need, get the support you need, and get it done. And get out of the way after that. Ensure someone is ready to take over. That's important. And get out of the space. And so it was in quick order, changing the culture, changing the morale, changing the spirit of even the students, and fixing the discipline, fixing the building, everything was going on.
Right.
Many, many, many pieces were being tackled at the same time. I say, Jamillah, you know, I'm looking at so much leadership right now everywhere. People need strong leaders. They really do. The organizations do. I tear up when I look, because we have great people who are prepared to do the work, people who are ready, who are skilled, who can do the work. But when you don't have leadership that does create the space and the alignment for the work. I like to call it the North Star. Where's the North Star these days? Who's looking at it? Who's watching it? Do we know what it is? They knew that North Star. They knew what we were working toward. Everyone knew that. And so bringing that type of energy, wishy-washy leadership will never be attached to me. Okay?
You heard it here, people.
I mean, people don't, it's not admired.
Right.
You know, I think honesty, transparency, really lifting people up and genuinely being committed to the organization's vision. It's collaborative. It is cooperative. It involves followership. If you don't have anyone following you, you're not leading.
Right.
You need somebody. You need some people.
You be like, you over there by yourself.
So nobody's
Who
there.
are you leading?
And that's a huge part of it, right? And that's why, again, I bring it back to the coaching.
Yes.
Like, make sure you're being coached. People say, hey, nobody's following. Did anybody follow that? And so bringing people along with the vision. We wanted to be a model primary school, and that's what we stood for.
Yes.
Would this be happening in a model primary school? If not, let's stop it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's stop it, and let's start doing what a model primary school would do. Very, very high standards. And I mean, I had high standards for my students. I had high standards for my teachers. I have high standards. I just think, you know, let's bring them up to the standard. Yeah, let's get everybody going.
Listen, based on your description, then you are very qualified to do all of the other teaching in all of the other industries and environment, because to be able to combat that, because sometimes in scenarios where, you know, people are confronted with change, it's extreme resistance, right?
That's right.
Because that's not how we did it.
No.
We've never done it that way, and I'm not interested in doing that way. So people become complacent. They accept mediocrity.
That's right. Absolutely.
This is all we can do.
Absolutely.
Kinds of attitudes.
No, that's it.
So to be able to go in a space and like completely change it around, that's a lot of work.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
And it takes a certain kind of person.
Yeah, it does.
Is what I'm telling you.
It really, it's a stick-to-itness that is really, really not easy, right? And it does take a certain kind of person. I just love telling this story where we were changing the discipline plan, and I had discussed this whole new vision for discipline with all due respect. We're going to respect the students. That's where it's going to start. All of this. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. So I had a teacher come to the office, knock, knock, knock. Come in, yes. And it was one of my, you know, and I knew she was coming to represent a few other people. I don't agree with this discipline plan. I said, you know, okay, that's wonderful. So I looked behind her back. She said, what? I said, I'm looking for your backpack full of research. And so let's talk about it. You have a plan that you'd like to put on the table that you've researched and you're prepared to share with everyone?
Yeah.
She said, no, I'm fine with the plan. I thought so. I said, make sure you let everybody know that you're fine. And so really and truly, I was trained to welcome dissent. I was trained to welcome that. That's not something I personally shy away from, and I encourage leaders to encourage it.
Right.
Encourage people to challenge your thinking.
But come correct.
That's right.
Don't come and just tell me you don't like it. What is the alternative?
Absolutely.
Why don't you like it?
Absolutely.
What needs to be tweaked so you can like it?
Absolutely. Bring it all. And if you don't, then you have to follow my leadership.
Not looking for the backpack, Dr. G.
I did. She said, I said, I figured you had a backpack. Because see the books that I've been using? This is what I've been using. What have you been using?
Yes.
She said, I'm fine with that discipline. I thought you would be fine. Girl, that was hilarious.
That is hilarious.
It's hilarious.
But I mean, it brings to light a good point. It says, if you're gonna challenge, then challenge fully. Do your research.
And it's important for leaderships to allow that. Right. And that's the key part as well. I think we have people in positions who denounce it.
Yes.
Stifle it.
And they think that's leadership.
That's right. And that's not.
Do it my way.
That's not.
Because I know all the things. So just do what I say.
And that's not. I didn't operate like that.
Yeah.
And they knew.
And I don't think effective leaders do.
They don't.
You know?
They don't. Listen, I put things on the table and I will wait. Because somebody better say something about it. Because I know all of you don't agree with it, and all of you have some thoughts of your own. And it's that, I say that in jest, right? But it's that pushing the envelope of you have professional thought.
Yeah.
You have something in you.
Right.
Put it out, right?
Yes.
And so that, getting teachers to get comfortable with that. Getting people to get comfortable with, I'll sit here and wait, that's okay. And you can say what you like, and we'll still be good after this.
Right.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. We're trying to achieve that North Star.
Hello, hi.
Right?
Sister, listen, girl.
Look, we'll be here all day, amening and high-fiving and all of that. But I'd like to end with, so when you think about EduCoach today,
yes.
right? What is important for people to understand? Why should they consider reaching out, and how do they reach out once they hear this and they're like, oh, we've been missing out?
Yes, they've been missing out. All my HR professionals, the schools, and that's private schools, public schools, individuals, teachers, parents. Everyone wants to grow. Everyone should be growing. Everyone should be looking at how they can be better in any way, whatever that looks like. EduCoach is easy. It's an easy space to help you. Be careful, I like to say to organizations, because I now shake my head, be careful of spending all of your money on the workshops, on those traditional workshops and spaces, training. They are good, but start shifting it. That's right. Start shifting a little bit and invest some more in those entities. In EduCoach, and choose us because we're the best. Right? You get me. You get the best. So we, choose that space, that resource. I want to say that actually investing in that individual, in those persons, and you can do small group as well, and individuals, and you can do that. But the space ensures that that individual is able to deliver. They will love you for it. They will love every single person. We have not had one person say that they didn't appreciate getting the support. They want more of it. I want to encourage organizations. Now I'm talking to you, the business, the leaders. Invest in this way. They will give you more. Your employees will give you more. Call me at 533-3382, or reach out to me at Dr. Gina at educoach.online. Dr. Gina at educoach.online. You can reach me. We can talk about how we can support your managers, your C-suite, your lower level people. If you're sending them to a training, I mean, everybody's into a training. I see it.
And they come back, and then what?
Nothing changes.
Right.
You send them to a training, hook EduCoach to that training. We can be the phase B of that training, and you will then see the outcome. That will be the level. Awesome, girl.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's get it going.
Thank you so much, Dr. G, for coming back, giving us an update.
Right?
It's so good to hear how much the business has grown.
Yes.
Because I do think that there is huge value in leading the right way.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, to me, a leader makes space for the people that are following them.
Absolutely. And
to be leaders themselves.
Lifting them up. And I always say, anyone, as soon as I'm with the Derby, right?
Yes.
And that's been 20-something years, and I was really excited to take that on, because that was in a predicament. But I am very, very much aware of the need to ensure that someone succeeds and can do better than me.
Yes.
See? So when I coach you, I will pale in comparison when I finish with you.
Right.
That's how I operate, and that's how a leader should operate. That the next person will be better than you.
That's right.
Because when you have ensured that they've lifted up, hell, they can't. It's just natural that they would be.
That they'll do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it just continues.
Absolutely. But we're seeing organizations on the brink, right? Because the leadership is being allowed to not lead, right? And the longer you do
just because you have the title don't mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that's, someone has to be leader enough
to recognize that and then fix it.
Call EduCoach. How you know? Oh my gosh, to be like, I believe it. That somebody has to recognize it and fix it. That's what we do. And fix it. Call EduCoach. We're here. We're here to do that.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Oh, it's been exciting, girl.
We minded some business
today.
Yes,
Yes, we did.
And remember, if you don't mind your business,
who will? Who will?
Thanks for tuning in to Mind Your Business with me, your host, Jamillah Lodge. Tune in next week, Thursday at 4 p.m. because if you don't mind your business, who will? Mind Your Business is brought to you by BEDC. Bermuda Business starts here.